Okay, and we are live. All right. Good. Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, whatever may be the case for you. Welcome to this live episode of Exponential Traction. And today we're going to be talking about how many of you have ever said this to yourselves? Okay, I'm not yet ready with my work. It's not yet perfect. Therefore, I'm not yet going to share. I'm not even going to raise my hand. I'm not going to talk about it. Sometimes you end up not showing up. How many of you can relate with any of this? Type relate in the comments box. Good morning, everybody. Let's go ahead around the room, okay, so that our speakers here, well, the Exponential Traction team would be able to introduce themselves. Let's first go to Jerica. Jerica?
Good morning, Mac. How's everyone? I miss you guys. I'll introduce myself. I'm Jerica David. I am a senior portfolio manager here in the Philippines, and I help young female entrepreneurs transform their lives and their business. And I'm so excited for this topic because a lot of women are notorious for being over preparers and underestimating how their readiness when it comes to starting anything. So yes, I'd like to introduce our beautiful facilitator, Annie Callis from Australia. Hi, Annie.
Thank you, Jerica, and thank you, Mac. I'm actually very excited about today's topic because I think we all suffer from this. But before we go into that, my name is Annie Callis. I am a relationships architect, and I work with people to have great relationships with themselves and with others. And this is a really great medium to talk about one of our biggest part of life, which is our work life. So whatever happens at home, sometimes we take it to work, and what happens at work, we take it home. And being prepared and being ready, it actually spills into our whole life. So what I want to talk about today, really, it's about in the work environment, because it really, really affects our life and our relationship with ourselves. So I want to talk about this perfectionism thing that we all suffer from. But before I do that, I would like to introduce our leader, Mac Comandante. I so love your name. You know, Comandante in my country means leader. So I don't know if it means that in your country, but it means leader. And I've been hung up on your name ever since I met you. So Mac, take it away.
Thank you, Annie. I love that context. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. My name is Mac Comandante. I'm an international trainer and coach and the founder of several startups. And over the past 5 years alone, I have coached and trained over 20,000 entrepreneurs grow their sales by 300% and remove constraints towards exponential growth. Okay, good morning, everybody. Today, we're going to be talking about how do you conquer this limiting belief of it's about I cannot put this out yet because it's not yet perfect. Okay, I need to think about this first. I need to contemplate whether I'm gonna do that next step, the thing that you're asking me to do, because I'm not yet ready. It's not yet perfect. I'm not yet perfect. So no, not yet. So maybe Annie, let me turn this over to you, Annie. I'll let you facilitate this conversation this morning. Okay, and with me and Jerica in support of you. Okay, would you like to do that? Because I know that this is very close to you.
I actually think it's close to all of us. And I think when Jerica introduced herself, she talked about this. So this was very relevant to her. She said, oh, and the people that she works with. And I think women are more vocal about this, but I think a lot of men are going through the same thing. So like when we have to present something, and a couple of sessions ago we talked about, I think it was our first session where we talked about presenting, being in front of people and talking in front of people. So this, sorry?
Public speaking.
Public speaking. Now, public speaking doesn't necessarily mean that it's just it's like a Tony Robbins or that kind of stuff. We public speak all the time. Public, our family is public. Our co-workers, our friends, our teammates, if we play sport and we need to say something, everything is public speaking. It's about speaking up. It's about sharing what comes up for us. And then what happens is our limiting beliefs show up and we don't want to say anything in case we are shunned, we are thrown out from the community, because one of the biggest desires of all people is belonging.
Yeah.
We all want to belong to a tribe or a community. So then what happens is our little voices go off based on our upbringing or whatever it is, and our limiting beliefs show up and say, I'm not going to say that because what are they going to think? And then we build stories and then we live into the stories. So if you want to change your life, you need to change your story. And this is something that Tony Robbins bangs on about all the time. So for those of you that don't know who Tony Robbins is, and there's still a lot of people out there that don't know Tony Robbins, but he's the world's best strategist and coach. And he helps people overcome their limiting beliefs. So one of them is these amazing stories that we create and we go, no, that must be true. When it's not. So when we are in a workplace, and I was thinking about this because I'm kind of the resident relationship architect or relationship coach, right? But what I want to talk about, and because our work life takes up half, if not more, of our life, I really wanted to talk about this because this perfectionism is what makes our professional life suffer, whether we work for somebody or we work for ourselves. So we are given a task. Now, the question here is, why do you think you are given the task? So I'm going to ask this question and put it out to you guys and I want to hear what you guys are thinking. And anybody who's watching, put it in a comments box. Why do you think you are the one that has been chosen to do that particular task? I'll be very keen to hear what people think, why they're getting that. So who wants to
Excellent,
answer?
Annie. Let me build on what you said first, Annie. For
Yeah.
everyone who's watching right now, I just want to do a very quick tech check with you. If you can hear us loud and clear, if you can see the video, just send us the heart emoji right now, okay, so that we can see it over in the comments box and in the chat box right now. Okay, go ahead and do that. We want to make sure that we're coming in loud and clear for you. And let me pull up as well my monitor here. Okay, good. And in the chat box right now. Okay, go ahead and do. Okay, good. So there's a bit of echo. So good. Thank you. So go ahead, Jerica. What are your thoughts about what Annie said?
Okay, since I'm coming from an entrepreneur standpoint and not really a workplace standpoint, well, there's sort of pressure, or like maybe not pressure, but like responsibility to put myself out there. That's why I did a certain task, like even if I don't feel prepared. So coming from like what I did last year was I started my YouTube channel, and I did not know anything about YouTube. And this is something that I admire you, Annie, for, because like I know you have some difficulties when it comes to like the technical aspects of like, you know, being online. So similar to what you feel like last year when I started my YouTube channel, it's like I need to be, I need like I need to put my makeup on, I need to know what to say, I need to have a script, etc. But then I just did it. And then like results started to come in, and like some videos flopped, some videos um succeeded, and I was surprised that it succeeded. So it's really just saying yes to doing a task. And maybe in a work setting it's like a responsibility, like saying yes to what the boss or what your boss tells you or asks you to do, because sometimes you don't have a choice. Like for me, I know I didn't really have much of a choice because I had trouble getting referrals, so I know I needed to do something different for me to generate leads online. And that is going online, going on YouTube. And even if I didn't, it was my first video. I didn't even know how to edit, but it's like just said yes, and just, just adapted or just winged it as I go. So that was for me, or I think that is for most people who just, are given tasks and
Mm.
are feel unprepared for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I'd like to add to that, Jerica. So, Annie, from my point, why would someone give me the task? It's because they feel that I'd be able to deliver. Right? So I think simply put, that's why there's that delegation. Right? Am I on the right track? Are we on the right track? I think there are two perspectives here. And I also like what
Spot
Jerica
on.
said. Yeah, I also like what Jerica said because earlier today I was doing coaching with the Big Players group, and we were talking about prioritizing time. And part of it is that you are going to delegate, okay? But yesterday I was also coaching an entrepreneur, okay? She owns a pharmacy, and one of the challenges is that she's saying, Mac, I just feel so overwhelmed today. There's so many things that I need to do. Okay, and but I have to delegate, and I cannot delegate, and I have to be there, and people are messing up in terms of what they're supposed to deliver. So we ended up talking about, why do people even feel stressed around a particular task? Okay, or they don't want to do a report, or they don't want to even talk about it. Okay, and what I've come to realize, Annie, is that it's a function between competence versus the requirement of the task, right? So if the competence is lower than the expected output, then it now creates some sort of stress. And what I notice is that when people get stressed, okay, we have the tendency to clam up instead of to ask for help, or sometimes people just ghost you, okay, because they're not yet ready. Right? I mean, have you ever experienced that? And what did they say? But at the back of their minds, it's exactly what we are talking about today. It's about, it's not yet perfect.
Mm.
Okay? And in the Filipino vernacular, Annie, it sounds something like nakakahiya na eh. So it now creates shame,
Shame.
so they
And
don't
then,
show up.
yeah.
Are we on the right track?
Well, yes, there's a few different arms here. So what I asked was, why do you think you get that task? So you
Mm.
actually answered it. So Jerica told me how she deals with that. But the question actually was, why do you think you get that task? And you actually answered it. It's because the person thinks, or not thinks,
Mhm.
well, yeah, they actually think and they know in their world that you can deliver.
Mm.
How you deliver, that's your thing. But what happens with a lot of people is they're given a task and there's something that comes, and because they know that they've been given that task because the person trusts in them to do it, but then they don't want to let the person down. And that's when the panic starts.
Mm.
And then they try to do it, and then they try to do, and they try to do this, and they try to do that. And, it's like, oh my God, will they like it? Will they like it? And as you said, they actually don't have clarity or what is it exactly that this person wants. Instead of going to ask and say, listen, can you just tell me what is it that you really want? And this is where people communication is a big thing. Effective communication, we talked about a couple of sessions ago also,
Mm.
is that if you're not sure of something, ask the question. But most people think that they will be considered stupid, not good enough, not clever enough. Now, why would you ask that question? Because seriously, we are born with all this knowledge, right? No. So the thing is that, do you have the competency? Well, when you do work on yourself and you trust in you and you feel confident, you have the competency. That's why that person is asking you to do this particular task,
Mm.
right? So therefore, if you're not clear on what they want, go and ask, because you already have the competency. But the limiting belief is the lack of competency. They think, well, hang on, oh, I'm not good enough. I don't think I can do this. They will want this, and this, but the person hasn't told them. So you're creating stories and presumptions of what do you think the person needs. So unless you're completely clear on this, and I'm going to share an example with you. My son, flipping out at school when he was given topic assignments. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, So he gets the assignment in February, is due at the end of March, and on 29th of March, he has a complete meltdown. But I'm talking complete meltdown. And I think you guys can relate to this as grown-ups too, because this happens a lot. Procrastination happens a lot. And he's having the meltdown. I go, all right, stop, just stop. All right, what's the homework? I don't really know. What do you mean you don't know? Did you read the description? No. Well, if you haven't read the description, how are you supposed to know?
Mm.
I said, Judy, you're not born with the knowledge, what they're asking you. So then I sit with him, I go, you read it now. No discussion, read it now. So he read it, he goes, oh, and in 2 hours, homework is done.
Mm.
I said, why do you do this to yourself? I said, the number one thing you have to, now the whole thing is, in the education system, they were never taught on how to study.
Mm.
Here's the homework, here you go, here's the book, go and do it. These are kids who are not equipped in the knowledge on how to study. Now, I can tell you, this actually rolls into adulthood. So the fears that come up for us in the younger years, they get buried in our subconscious because we have a way of surviving and moving on with life. But when a task is given to us, that same emotion comes up of what we were expected to do. So clearly we didn't deliver. Then we were told how, you're lazy, you didn't work, you this, you that, you the other, you are labeled all sorts of things. And all those labeling comes up in adulthood. So that's how perfectionism develops. Now, do you guys know, I'm sure you do, but people listening, have you ever heard this thing? Don't strive for perfection, strive for progress.
Mm.
Yeah. Now here's another twist. Yes, Jerica?
Progress over perfection.
Okay.
Right.
How about, so here's another twist on this. How about striving for perfect progress or progressive perfection? Play on words. And this comes down to understanding the word perfect. And I bang on about it every single time, about every misunderstanding is the result of a misunderstood word. Mm. When I looked up the word perfect, it means being as good as it gets in the moment.
Perfect is being as good as it gets in the moment.
In the moment. So, those of us that are in the personal development arena, in that moment, when you have that breakthrough, it's absolute perfection in that moment. But we progressed. And then we are ready for the next moment of perfection, which is going to be as good as it gets in that moment. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of statements that have been created by people over time that is actually how you look at it. So when you want everything to always be perfect based on what? Because you don't want to deliver it because you think people are going to think something bad about you. But how do you know that that's their measure of what's right or what is perfect? So you're striving for this ultimate ideal of being right in the moment, but you actually don't know what that is and you don't even know your measure. Now, I know you like this one, Mac, because you're a test measure, and it's really rubbing off on me because I really get it now. So the whole thing is, what's perfection? So be kind to yourself and trial it. And I'm going to share something else with you, but I want to know how is all this landing on people. So please share with what you're hearing right now and how is this landing on you?
Very nice. Good. And in recognition of that, team, those of you who are watching this live, go ahead, click on the share button and tag your friends there in the comments box so that they can join in the conversation. If you're finding this helpful, go ahead, do that now. Or just let us know that you are there. Go ahead, click on the heart emoji right now so that we'd be able to know that you're there. Okay, this is being broadcasted in multiple channels, in Success Academy, on my page, on Annie's page, on Jerica's page, in YouTube, I think, Jerica and Annie, right? Also with JL as well as with Cameron's pages. Okay, well done, team. Good work. I can see the heart emojis coming up. Great, great. Thank you. Good work. So you can participate in the conversation. If you have questions, go ahead, post that in the comments box. Okay, and then we're going to bring that up. We're going to talk about it so that this can be of full value to your day. Okay, well done. I like the context here, Annie. So, and I'm also like to add on to that, because the education system about 1/3 of our lives, right, we are in school. And what does the education system actually teach us? It's to be perfect. We are being measured every time there's a homework, there's an assignment, there's a quiz, there's a test. It's being measured that you have to get everything right. And the teacher would actually write there perfect if you get a perfect score. So we've been conditioned around that. That's why afterwards in adult life, it keeps on coming up. It has to be perfect. Whatever I submit, it has to be perfect. And sometimes it gets in the way. So, team, that is what we're talking about today. How many of you have gotten that perfection syndrome? Right? Do you have that with you? Type yes in the comments box if you can relate to any of this. Go ahead, Annie.
I
I love
I'm just
that.
saying, I'm just agreeing. I'm saying double yes. I have
Yeah.
lived most of my life like that. And
Mm.
there's still remnants in there. However, I catch myself and I go, okay. Yeah.
Mm.
Jerica, what's your take on this?
I didn't even realize how it affected me until now. Like how the educational system is structured and how it's gonna affect my child, right? So I think what you mentioned about being perfect as being as good as it gets in the moment, I feel like um yeah, like when we define what perfect is, it's not even like 100% or being correct all the time. It's
Hmm.
more of accepting and acknowledging what you have now and the knowledge of what I have now and just being or like doing what I can. And that's already perfect enough. And like coming from that, I mean, when I do that, the next step or like the next circumstance would even be better just because I learned from the circumstance.
Yeah. Nice.
Amazing.
You know how messed up it is, right? So even us parents can get guilty with this when we check the homework of our kids, of our children. Where is it? Why is it that it's not perfect? Why are you not ready? It has to be the best. Okay, and I'd like to share another story around your context also, Annie. Coming from a coaching conversation yesterday, again with this entrepreneur. She's also into sales and she has teammates under her. Okay, and you know how it is in sales, right? It's about you're only as good as your last performance. Okay, but however, what happened in one of their sales meeting, team meeting, was that they now show the results and they get to see where are you at with regard to the ranking. And it can get glaring if you have not made any sale, right? So, but what happened was that instead of creating motivation, it created demotivation.
Mm.
Because now the sales agent, which is part of our team, now felt that, hey, my way of working is different from others. And now I am being measured and being pitted upon against a teammate, okay, as they were talking about leads. But the truth is that with regard to final outcome and output, he was actually making more sales versus the person that he was compared against with. So what happened was that it came to a point that he doesn't anymore want to attend the meetings because he didn't like the feeling. Okay, so that's the additional context I'd like to add to that because then it can bring about triggers on how it was like growing up, being measured against someone else. Okay, when the truth is, yes, it's about consistent progression towards a goal that you would like to pursue. So, giving this back to you, Annie.
Yeah, and that in some companies, if there's an agreement that we have the social, I can't remember the second word, but I heard this many years ago. It's like a social inspiration. It's not social pressure, it's social inspiration where it's actually a game within the team. And then everybody comes in with fun, but it's done with like, well, how much did you do? Or how much did you do? Hmm. So, I used to sell lingerie for 13 years through the direct selling module.
Hmm.
And every month when we had there was like this big event and everybody would show up and then they would reward all the people that have achieved the top sales, right? And they would call the numbers, stand up everybody who's done $1,000, $5,000, $10,000, $25,000, $30,000. And it was really cool that, there's a friend of mine, and when we were at the height of our business, like we were in the top 10 out of 1,600 consultants, right? So we would stand up and we would still be standing, and the numbers would go up and go up, and we would sit across from each other and we'd be going, right? It was healthy competition. And then there was always that one girl who was always on top of us. But the thing is, we knew our limit, we knew how much we wanted to work, and we just wanted to achieve that. Now, this other person was like doing double, but she was doing double the work, which we didn't want to do because we wanted to be home with our kids. So it was really great. There was healthy competitions. And then we would catch up 2-3 times a week for a coffee and share stories with our clients and this and that, and we would learn. So it was never a negative competition, it was a positive one. But this is where it's very important when you look at leadership. Because would you agree that the success of any business or a department is a true representation of its leader?
Yes,
Yes or no?
definitely.
Because it comes from the top, right? So a lot of times, and I've heard this in many businesses, where the person at the top goes, all these people at the bottom are shit, and they are not doing the work, and they're lazy, and there's this and they that. When if they don't have direction, if they don't have clarity, they're just gonna sort of like blind leading the blind. They're kind of like, well, I think we need to do this, and nothing is really defined, and nothing is really being accepted, and nothing is being rewarded, and people are just like, oh, I'm done, I hate this environment. Because when people work for people, and even though like we are all entrepreneurs here and we have our own businesses, but we have people in our businesses, right? It's all about empowerment, because you are only as good as your people, right? So when you empower them and they feel, man, I feel so good, I want to go to work. I'm loving going to work because I feel good, right? They're loyal. You get the loyalty, you got the output, you get the effectiveness, you got the everything, because you allow them to come in and together you're building the company. They're not going to be sitting there going, oh, you making the money. No, because they get rewarded by the pay, because some people actually don't want to be entrepreneurs. They just want to go to work, make their money and go home. Because we need a workforce, and then we also need people that create businesses to give other people jobs, right? So, but the whole thing here is this whole perfectionism comes in with, am I doing this right? Am I doing this right? Now, if you've got a leader who constantly tell you you're wrong, like your example, he doesn't want to go, because the leader is just looking at that moment in time. They don't know that maybe at home your mom is really sick. And when you're emotionally hurting, your logic is not really as high, because emotion is high, logic is low, right? They're not finding out, hey, is everything okay? Well, yeah, why? Well, look, for the last 3 weeks, you've been doing this much, but this week, there's nothing. Is everything all right? Just checking in. Oh, no, just this week just didn't work. I've just been absent-minded. Is everything okay? Yeah. You do that, the person feels valued, like, you really actually care about what's going on for me? Well, look, this and this has happened. Okay. Well, take a moment, but let's talk about this. If you need help, I'm here for you. Bam, that's it. Sometimes that's all somebody needs, right? So it's very important that people, that leadership does that, and don't make it about you, make it about somebody else.
Nice. Annie, I want to go once around the room here, in terms of, so how do you do it? Okay, what are your own personal experiences around how do you get past the perfection syndrome? Okay.
Right.
So I'd
But
like,
I have a follow-up question from that, from what you shared, Annie, if I may.
go
Because
ahead.
not a lot of bosses are like that, especially for the people who are listening. What if your boss doesn't really communicate well with you and just expects performance, right? So how do you adapt, right?
I'm so glad you asked. All right. So can I answer this one, Mac?
Go ahead, Annie.
So we are all responsible for our lives. If we are not clear on something, we can't point a finger at the boss, but the boss didn't say so. You know why you're there, what your job description is, and you're not clear, you need to go and ask. And it's your responsibility to learn how to communicate. Now, yes, and I know some people are listening to this and are horrified because they're probably be going, oh, I've done that. And my boss was like this and like this. Your role is to go and figure out how to find it, because your boss is overloaded, overwhelmed, overactivated from the top, because ultimately is numbers, delivery. Nobody really cares. So you can be better than your boss. But because you elevate, you got to manage up and manage down. So you got to manage your person, because if you stop and get out of your head and you're watching the person, you can see how stressed and overwhelmed they are. And you can just turn around and say, I'm sensing something is, I can see you're really stressed and overwhelmed. Is that so? How many people have ever asked that of their boss? By a show of hands, I'd love to know that. Put in a comments box below. Have you ever done that? Right? The moment you do that, it will break the whatever's going on. It's like, when you call pattern interrupt, you're interrupting something, and they'll go, what? Sorry, what? It stops the momentum of you being in that stress, right? And they would go, what kind of question is that? Well, I'm just noticing that you're really stressed. So is there anything I can do to help you? Now, there are some people that are not going to have the right result. And this can also be an ideal. But what if this ideal works? And I can tell you it worked for me. So I'm talking from experience, where I had to collect I used to do collections, $2 million. And the last 2,000, so I collected $1,909,000, blah, 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 right? I had $2,000 left to collect. So over a period of a year, I collected $2 million. Now, this was like 30 years ago, right? So I went into the boss, and he was the only person who knew the answer to this. And I went in, and he said, I don't have time for you. And I said, listen, I understand you're busy. However, I talked to this person. You are the only one who knows the answer and can make a decision. So do you want this fixed or not? And he looked at me, he said, well, you got chips on your shoulder. I don't know what took over me that time. I looked at him, I said, well, guess what? So do you. He looked at me like, what? I said, listen, I don't want to be disrespectful. You gave me a job to do. I'm on the last $2,000. Do you want to write it off, or do you want me to collect it? What's it going to be? Because you're the only person that can do this. And he's like, okay, all right, take it easy. All right. 20 minutes was done, and we finished $2 million worth, right? I didn't do personal development back then, but I knew my job. I knew what was given to me, and I wanted to deliver. I was loyal to the company, and I wanted to deliver, and I did whatever it took. Was I scared to go in there? Slightly, but I also observed this man, and he was fair, he was direct, and he was a great boss. Even though everybody was scared of him, he wasn't that bad. But I just stood my ground. I wasn't afraid of the after effect, right? Because I was so focused on what I had to do. And that's very, very important. So I don't know if this is answering your question, but I think it's very important that we take responsibility for our job. right?
Exactly.
And then be able to go and say, hey, you hired me for this reason. I need to know what is it exactly that you want. Again, for some people, this might seem like la la and out there, but I have experienced this and done it. So I'm not talking just out of sorts. It can work,
Mm,
right?
mm. Right,
So
coaching.
did that answer your question in some way?
Yes, perfect. I love it.
Good, good. Thank you.
Awesome.
Mac,
Okay, good. Yeah. So I want to go around. What are some of your experiences? How do you get past your own perfection syndrome? Because I think everyone is kind of guilty with this, and there are no exceptions to this. Again, part of our programming has made us such. Okay. Let's start with you, Annie. What's a tip that you can give around this? How do you get past your own sense of perfection?
I think I've learned enough over these years, and I do a lot of I practice a lot of, I have a lot of rituals, and I talk to myself when I'm actually feeling the emotion rising. I know something is going on inside of me, and then I sit back and I close my eyes and I go, I like myself, 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 until I literally feel the pressure coming down, because I know I'm being emotional. And then I start questioning myself. What's going on for me? What am I afraid of? What is happening? So and then when I come up, and I usually come up with the answer, so I do a lot of self-reflection. And then I just go, okay, I still can't find the answer. I actually get on the phone and I get a clearing session. I
Mm,
don't waste time anymore in trying to figure it out, because if I find the answer within me, then I just go and do it, because
mm,
I realize what's happening. But if I don't, and I still have some big things that are still playing, and it's not perfection, but it's just something that's going on within me. So I'm working very hard on to figuring out what that is. And when the penny drops, then I fly with it. But this is practice, and being responsible for finding the answers within myself, because nobody else is going to give me the answer. But I need a coach to pull it out of me. So I don't coach myself. I coach myself to a point, and then I just go, right, I can't do this. And I either call my friends who are coaches. I'm very lucky, right? Or I actually really do a coaching session. I pay someone and I invest in my growth.
yeah.
And
Nice.
that's what I do.
Very nice.
Jerica, what do you do?
Jerica.
Okay, so I prepare as much as I can. I like when I get into a meeting, I know what I want to say, but I think about 50% of the time I wing it. Just, I just say yes and okay, let's do it. You want me to speak in this organization? Okay. I'll prepare as much as I can and just say yes and just um go with it, like learn from, like figure it out as I go. So maybe like 50 to like 80% of the time there's a wing it, just like courage. I sum up all my courage and just do it, especially because I don't even know what the result will be,
Mm,
like 50% of the time, especially when the pandemic happened. Like, I don't know if this is gonna work, or I don't know if the results will, the result I want will happen. So might as well just do it, make a mistake, learn from the mistake, and yeah, um, do it.
good.
So
But
that's
do you know why you're so comfortable with winging it?
why.
No, I'm asking you, do you know, or have you ever thought, why are you so comfortable with winging it?
I think it's also because I've prepared for it, prepared enough, and also I've gotten good results from just doing the work.
Mm,
So
Yes, that's two things. But you're comfortable with winging it because you know your business. So
mm,
you, so you prepare so much, but you've got a million other tools under your belt. Like, you know your business, you know why you're here, you know why you're offering, and you actually trust in the process that when they're going to come up with something, and because you're present to them and what they want, you know that the answer will come because you know your business.
Right.
So I've got 21 major tools. I've got only 9 accelerators, but within that, I've got 21 tools. I don't tell people everything. I just wait. And when I coach, they come up with things and I go, oh, I know that one. And then I just get my book out and I go, okay, so, and then I pull out that tool. I just trust that it goes where it needs to go. You know, to give you an example, I start with dealing with values, and I do an exercise. They learn their values and all that kind of stuff. And then when they go away and they practice it and they come back, and all of a sudden guilt comes up. Now, what has guilt got to do with values? I said, oh, do you know what guilt is? And then I just go into that because I listen to what's coming up. And then I go to that tool, and then I give them another tool in relation to guilt. So I wrote a whole article and I studied it and the whole thing. And then I give them that and they go, oh. I said, did you break the law? No, so why are you guilty? Huh? So you know your stuff, but you're comfortable, and it is okay to be comfortable. It doesn't mean that you're arrogant. It just means that you know your stuff. And that's why you're good at what you do, is because you know your stuff anywhere, anytime with your eyes closed. Am I correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Give yourself
Thank you.
a big
I do
round of
have the
applause.
tools. That's why.
There you go. Yeah. So what's your take on this, Mac?
Yeah, okay. Everybody who's watching now live, or if you're watching this on replay, I want to ask you, how does this sound like for you? I'm not yet ready, so I'm not going to put out my work. Now, this can be different for anybody and for everybody, right? The way the perfection syndrome comes up can be different. And I want to ask all of you, go ahead, type this in the comments box. What are these statements? What are the stories that you actually tell yourself? Why is it that it sounds like something like that you don't want to put out your work yet because it's not yet perfect? Now, based on my experience, Annie, one of the reasons, or there are 3 reasons that I can think about why this is happening. The first one is that people don't have clarity on where they want to go. So how can they put something out if they don't know where do they want to go? So that's why they say that, okay, it has to be perfect because, yeah, it has to be perfect because this is the only thing that I am doing at this point in time without a longer term direction. That's one of the reasons why. The second reason why there's a perfection syndrome is because to begin with, you may not even be hungry enough for the results. Okay, over the weekend, I was with Mac Atram, right? And he reminded us with what Les Brown says. You got to be hungry. Okay? If you're hungry, you have that fire in the belly, you're going to be able to do whatever it takes, right? Think about this. If you don't have any more food in the table, what are you going to do? You're not just going to wait and die, right? You're going to do something about it. Now, are you hungry enough for those goals? Hungry enough so that you don't end up procrastinating and actually take action and put out the work. And the third reason why people have the perfection syndrome is because they are afraid. Maybe at some point in their life, they were criticized. They could be afraid of speaking up because of retribution or simply put, just being criticized about their work. Okay, so I'm going to give you news. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, everyone who's watching, you're going to be criticized anyhow, whether you do it or you don't. Yes or no, right? So, interestingly, I received feedback from the grapevine. Again, speaking with my coachee yesterday, that Max, someone talked to me about this and so on. And so she received a criticism around the grapevine, and then she didn't like it. Okay, because to begin with, it was from the grapevine. It came from a friend. So then, so again, I told her that and this is based on my experiences. Those people who are actually ahead of me, bigger than me, more successful than me, I have never experienced it where they actually criticized me for what I do. I'm going to leave it at that. So when someone starts to criticize me, you know what I say to myself? Yeah, thank you. And thank you. And that's it. I have no time for that because, as what I've learned from my mentor, from our mentor, Blair Singer, I have my own inner critic that's already so loud to begin with, that's already criticizing myself to deal with. I have no more time, okay, to still think about the criticisms of others just because they want to feel good about themselves. Okay, so that's not judgment, team. I'm just reporting. Okay? So that is why. How do we get past then? How do I get past the perfection syndrome? Okay, similar to what Jerica said. Okay? Aim. Find your direction. Stop thinking about it and then fire and then adjust along the way. Because action always beats thinking. I can always beats I think. Tony Robbins said that best. Okay, so that is why. And the truth is that, okay, everyone, you know that action that you're supposed to do, right? That action that for the longest time, there's some sense of discomfort that no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna pick up my phone and choose the live video and I'm gonna start marketing myself. No, not yet, Mac. My hair is not yet done. And all of those reasons, right? So, but again, the truth is that your audience, they don't care about that. What they care about is the value that you give them. Okay, so go ahead and take action. Right? Because the truth is, how many of you agree with me that you are one decision away from the life that you truly deserve? Sometimes, what's missing is making that decision and taking action towards it. Nobody's perfect anyhow. How many of you have ever met somebody who's actually perfect? Nobody, right?
But a lot of people say, "Oh, you're so perfect." Tell me, and I just go, "Oh, tell me more about it." "Oh, well, you're so well put together, and you're this and that, and your hair always looks good, and you make it." And I go, "Did you miss my videos where I just got up and my hair sticking up, and I've got my glasses on in my jammies?" And they go, "No." Okay, but then I just go, "That's interesting, because I don't think that I'm perfect when I just wake up in the morning with my hair all over the place." And I go, "Hang on, I am." Because I sit there and I look, it's really funny. In my bedroom, I've got this old-fashioned sort of dresser with a mirror. So when I wake up in the morning, first thing I see is me. And I sit there and I go, "Hi," not kidding. Every morning I go, "Hi, how you doing?" Right? And I catch myself up. I start laughing, right? So it's like, oh, why did I say that to that person? They just think that I look great. And then I just go, so, okay, well, why don't you do your hair? Why don't you do your makeup? I used to do my hair and makeup during lockdown because I got sick and tired of looking at myself, looking the way I looked and in my tracksuit pants. You know what I mean? So I think it's important to, as you were saying, Mac, just be hungry and go after your dreams, because you are a step away. And this thing where I love, and you said this on Friday, and you're saying it again, I love this thing where you said, "I never got criticism from anybody who's more successful than me." So here's the thing, I coach couples, right? So then one of the others says, well, usually the woman, because women are much more open to talk to their friends. And well, but my friend told me that I should do this. I said, okay, you should. I love when people say should, must, need to, have to, right? You should do that. There's no shoulds or have tos, right? And I go, so they did. I said, okay, so what is their marriage like? And she said, not too good. I said, so she's giving you advice. Yeah, it's like a single person telling another single person how they should have a relationship, because they are in a relationship and they know how it should be. So when people start criticizing you, are they numbers on a paper? Because they're not, So it's like somebody said to me, well, you've done all this work. Where are your millions? And I go, what do you mean by that? Well, you should have made millions by now. And I said, how do you know that? Well, you should. I said, yeah, but how do you know that? I said, have you done coaching? Do you actually know what it's like to build a business like this? No. So how do you know that I should? Well, you pay all this money to those people. I said, do you actually know how long they've been in business?
Mm.
No, I tell you, 35, 40 years. So now they're making millions. I said, do you actually know how they started? No. Well, how they get to that? I said, I'll tell you. So they did a whole pile of stuff for free for a while. And then one day, somebody showed up who loved what they were talking about and invited them into their company or invited them into their business or invited them into their, relationships. And the rest is history.
Mm.
That's how you get to that. I said, you make judgment on things that you actually know nothing about. So why are you so upset about me not making money? So this is a real story, actually. And she said, well, you're constantly whining about not having money. And I said, oh, wow, you're right. So it was my thing. I was responsible for the whole situation. I triggered something in her. And in the end, she said, I really care about you. So she goes, I don't like seeing you working so hard and not making anything. I said, but I'm doing a process. And I realized that I need to shut up. Oops. Personal responsibility. Because how it lands on the world, what we say, we actually don't know. And then we are worried about why they're coming back with things that we're not happy about. So this just came up. I didn't mean to talk about this, but it just came up. So it was a good refresher for me to, sometimes you need to keep things to yourself and only share with those people that are there, that understand, and they are there to lift you up and to support you because they are possibly experiencing similar things.
That is true. And can I catch you there? Okay, because
Yes.
team and everybody, how many of you realize that this all boils down to your relationship with yourself? Isn't that the case? Type self
Yes,
in the comments box
absolutely.
if you agree with me. And Annie, I know that you have a free masterclass that can help people around this, right? Or a free webinar that you have.
Or the short webinar.
Mm-mm. Yeah, that's
Yes.
where people can find you.
So I've got a 13-minute webinar, but this one actually talks about, it's more about relationships with a
Mm,
couple. But I actually have a 2-minute workshop that I'm working on bringing forth to
mm.
people. But I'm happy to put this in there because it actually shows my formula, shows my methodology,
Nice.
and what is good about the steps. So if it sings to anybody, and seriously, even though I talk about from a perspective, from the angle of relationships, and I talk about the 4 levels of a relationship, and then I talk about my methodology, I've actually used my methodology with singles, couples, couple where only one person showed up, couples that want to break up amicably, and people that have issues with their business. So this methodology is there for you as an individual.
So,
So
Annie, can you?
I'm happy to put it out there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I want to get the link now so we can post it in our own pages if you can, if it's there, if it's readily available.
Do
We're
you
gonna
want me
catch.
to put it in here, or do you
Just put
want
it
me
in.
to, or put it in the exponential traction group?
It could be either way. So yeah, you can put it in Telegram as well, and
Both.
then we're just gonna get it, copy it, and paste it in.
Okay.
Um,
So
would you
I'll
want that?
just,
Just type yes in the comments box if you want to have access to that free resource that Annie is giving out now. Okay, excellent. Well done. So
thank you.
and we're reaching the top of the hour. Okay, as you're getting this one, Annie, let me circle back to Jerica. Jerica, what are your final thoughts around this? What's your final message to anybody and everybody who's listening right now?
Well, with what you mentioned earlier, that it's about the relationship to ourselves, right? So if there's resistance that's arising from, you know, doing the next step or doing the responsibility that was handed to you, it's really about, well, what Annie said, effective communication and also believing in yourself.
Mm,
And once people acknowledge that, okay, I have not communicated effectively, that's why I don't know what to do, and also the worthiness issue of like doing the task. Once people address that, then they can go to the next step and do the work. Yeah.
Thank you. Very nice. Annie, what's your final message, please?
So my final message is something new that I'm just going to drop on all of you. I actually read an article, and an article about, so this is actually for, I don't know, I haven't thought how this is going to work in a relationship, but it's a 30-60-90 rule. When somebody is preparing a presentation, a topic, whatever they need to do, and they need to create something, this is a great rule where and like when you get feedback, so you can be working on, let's say, a presentation, and then you almost at the end, and you're pretty happy with it, you're pretty cool with it, and then somebody comes in and tells you, oh, that's not right, and that's not right, and that's not right. And apparently that's called seagulling. You know, seagulls, when they go, the birds, seagulls, and they come and they
Yeah.
snap. So that's called seagulling. And then you completely crushed, and you're like, at the end, you're like 95% done, and then you're completely crushed, and you start to stress and all that thing. And I'm sure some of you have experienced this. I know I have, right? So the 30-60-90 rule says that when you get an assignment, the topic or whatever it is, right? You do the 30% rule, where you ask people their perspective on something like this. Then as you keep going halfway through, you ask again feedback, and you want 60% feedback because you're already in it, so there's much more involvement. And then at the end, you get 90%. And the 90% should only be about grammar, not about the content, because along the way, the team had an opportunity to give you feedback. So I found this article, and I'm going to actually give it to you guys, because for those of you that are in business and you have to produce, deliver speeches or deliver whatever you need to deliver, it's an amazing article that I read. And I thought, if you're a business person, like, I read it and I went, oh, how good is this, right? I'm going to use it next time I have to do something, right? So I'm going to share with my peers, and they're going to give me feedback. I mean, I already do it, but I like the percentage, right? So I love numbers, and I like the measuring of things. So I have to find it, and I'm going to put it in our exponential attraction group. So hopefully, and what I would love for you guys to join our exponential group in Telegram, because there's a lot of conversation that can happen there. So, we're all going to put the link in our individual live streams. And please join us, guys, because this is how we're going to be able to cater for your needs. And I'm going to put that article in there because it's very, very good article. So that's what it helps with this whole perfectionism and being ready. You're going to get the support, and you actually have a formula. For those of you that love formulas, you can follow, you don't need to stress. So that's for me for today. Thank you for listening. Love you guys. I hope this was informative. And Jerica, what's your take on today's subject, and what are your last words?
I finished my last words already, so I'll give it to Mac.
Okay.
Annie, thank you, Annie. I truly appreciate you and
Thanks,
Jerica.
Annie. Yeah.
Guys, everyone who is watching and listening, remember to follow Jerica, Annie, and myself, also JL and Cameron, on their own pages and their own social media accounts. If you need help with any of this context, again, the link towards our Telegram group, it's free, okay? Join the group. You will find that in the description of this post, okay? If you need help with relationships, go ahead, reach out to Annie, okay? If you need help with regard to business, reach out to me and Jerica, okay? Let us know how we can support you. My final message for everyone is that, again, nobody's born perfect. Okay, so what's limiting everybody? Go ahead and just take action. Okay, if you're having difficulty around that, it only means that it could be you are avoiding something, and most of the time that negative emotion and feeling that goes with it. If you need help with any of that, then my suggestion for you is to get a coach, so that you can get yourself unstuck. Okay, so we're there for you. We're here for you. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you on Friday.
Exactly.
right? On Friday. We're
Yes.
going to be talking about marketing on Friday. See you guys. That's 11 a.m. Philippines, Singapore time. And that is at 2:30 p.m., Annie, right? In
Australia
Australia.
time.
Oh my gosh, am I getting on the time
2
conversion?
p.m.
3 hours,
At
so it's
3
2 o'clock.
p.m. Okay.
3 hours. I think India is got that extra half an hour difference.
Ah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
Mm.
So they're not on the hour difference, they're on the hour and a half. So they're 5.5 hours difference or something like that. Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
Perfect.
It's really funny with the world, isn't it? So everybody have a great, great afternoon, morning, wherever you are in the world. And thank you for listening. I hope this was informative.
Thanks, guys. Bye, everyone. I'll see you Friday.
Bye.